cursor. You can see my cursor, right?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, very good. That's all I want. Okay.
Okay, Dean Smith, why don't you get started and we'll let people come in as they come in.
Okay, thank you very much. Welcome everyone this afternoon for our session to celebrate or remember Yom Hashoah. The event is done in partnership with the Israeli Consulate in New York City, our second event with them this semester, so we're very grateful for the partnership. And it brings us Sami Steigmann and an opportunity to hear firsthand his experiences during the Holocaust. And the holiday that we'll be celebrating tomorrow into Thursday is a national remembrance of the Holocaust that's celebrated worldwide. And so getting to learn from somebody with an intimate and personal knowledge and experience is a real privilege for us all. I'm going to let our MC introduce Sami in a minute, but I just want to extend to him my personal gratitude for sharing with us today. I'm really looking forward to it because several years ago I was fortunate on a trip to Jerusalem to go to Yad Vashem, which is the Holocaust Remembrance Center. And it is a place that is, of course, very somber, but also has moments of inspiration. There's obviously many personal stories interwoven in the Remembrance Center there. And I see this as an opportunity for me to continue that learning with all of you this afternoon. So thank you to the consulate and thank you to Sami. What I'd like to do is turn it over to Samantha Bernstein. Samantha's the president of the Hillel campus chapter here at Seton University. And they're a co-sponsor with us on this event. So thank you to all our friends in Hillel. Samantha is a sophomore here. And one of the interesting things that I noticed about her is her commitment to service. She is vice president of the campus chapter of APO, which is the national, as many of you probably already know, is the very well-known national service fraternity. So congratulations, Samantha, on the leadership role in both organizations. And I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce our guest and to MC the event. So welcome, everyone. And I really look forward to our conversation that we're about to have. So Samantha, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dean Smith, for the introduction. And also I would like to thank the Israeli Consulate in New York for their partnership in today's important event. Yom Hashoah is a Holocaust Remembrance Day where people all over the world reflect on the tragedies and suffering that occurred during this time period. Jewish descendants take time to reflect on the horrific experiences that they and their ancestors went through. To never forget this time in history, in 1951, the Israeli parliament declared the 27th day of Nisan as Yom Hashoah. Sami, our speaker this afternoon, was born in 1939 in Surowitz, if I pronounce this wrong, Bukovina, part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire belonging to Romania. From 1941 through 1944, he was with his parents at a labor camp in Ukraine. Being too young to work, Sami was subjected to Nazi medical experimentation in his early years. The camp was liberated by the Red Army and his family was deported by the Romanians. He grew up in Transylvania in a small town called Rehin. In 1961, his whole family immigrated to Israel. In 1968, Sami moved to the U.S. by himself with no money and without speaking English. He lived in Milwaukee, where he married, divorced, and eventually, in 1983, returned to Israel. However, in 1988, he returned to the United States, choosing New York City as his final home. Please give a warm welcome to Sami.
Hi, everybody. I am extremely honored to be here to talk to you. I have a very interesting story, which is different from somebody else. By the way, I live here alone. in Manhattan, Central Harlem, and for practical purposes, I was in house arrest for a full year. I don't know. Okay, right now the weather is getting better, so I'll start to go out. Interestingly enough, as difficult as COVID-19 has hit all of us, there is a virus that is much more dangerous. That is the virus of bullying, bigotry, anti-Semitism, hatred, and ideology. It cannot be eradicated. The only way we can combat it is only through education. And later on, if you want, I can tell you that the education here about World War II, genocide, and Holocaust is very dismal in this country. If you want more details, I'll tell you later. But first, what I want to do is all of you can have my website, samispeaks.com. Okay, we have to talk about it, even if your families did not go through the Holocaust. Learn somebody's story, personalize it, what it means to you to tell the story, but this story has to be told forever and ever. And as it was mentioned, the Holocaust is commemorated twice a year. January 27, the International Holocaust Remembrance Day, and Yomashua. This is the Israeli commemoration. We remember the first Hebrew day of the uprising in Warsaw Ghetto, when with very few pistols, guns, and a few grenades, they were able to stand up to the mighty German military for a full month. Okay. My mission is, an acronym, EMET, which means to educate the next generation, to motivate them to be the best they can be, to empower them to become active. And Samantha, you're a very good example of being an upstander, and to teach about tolerance. And this means different things to different people. For me, is accepting other people's opinion, other people's culture. But when I'm talking about education, education for me means something else. It's not only to remember that 11 million people were murdered during the Nazi regime. What's important is to understand how is it possible that ordinary people, Germans and people from other countries, okay, worldwide, found it acceptable to annihilate one group of people from the face of the earth. And that's what we have to learn, and by learning from the history, we will be able to spot some of the signs today that can lead to other tragedies, future tragedies. The one thing that surprised me, and I will go very briefly because you will be able to have it, the whole PowerPoint, is almost 20% of the young people here in New York believe that the Jews caused the Holocaust. Unreal. And before I'm going to tell my story, I want to give a context. The Holocaust did not happen suddenly. Okay, so let's talk about, first of all, how did it come to have the Holocaust? Everything starts with words, with, for instance, documentaries. At the same time with the placards, posters, pictures. And the German people are really law-abiding citizens. I was, 2 years ago, I was in Germany, and believe it or not, even today, okay, they are very, law-abiding citizens. So the interesting part is what happened is that when the Germans came to power, their initial goal was not to murder the Jews, is to have a Germany free of Jewish people. But they fought in World War I for Germany. They considered themselves Germans. They lived there for centuries. Why would they want to leave? So the Germans had to make it difficult for them to leave on their own initially. So they came out in 1935 with the Nuremberg laws. They took away their citizenship. Teachers could not teach, doctors could not practice medicine, children could not go to school, could not participate in sports. They were boycotting the stores, and they made it acceptable for the German people that the Jews are a real menace to Germany. And all of a sudden, they feel very patriotic and comfortable not to speak anymore to their neighbors, okay? And the Jews became outside of the mainstream. But they were yet not violent. The violence started only in November 9 and 10 of 1938, which we know it as Kristallnacht. And during the Kristallnacht, which was throughout the whole Germany, they murdered over 100 people. They destroyed 7,500 stores and synagogues, and they put in prison 30,000. The idea of annihilating the Jewish people was not yet in their mind. The unofficial Holocaust started only on June 22nd, 1941. Behind the military, when the Wehrmacht attacked the former Soviet Union, they were killing groups called Einsatzgruppen. And their job was to murder the subhumans, the Russians and the Jews. With the help of the local people, they murdered by bullets 1.5 million Jews. Throughout the war, 1.5 million children, unfortunately, were also murdered. But that was the unofficial one. But I also want to go back and to talk about the difference between Europe and Poland. When the war started in 1939, Europe was occupied. But when you occupy a country, the local government still have certain rights. Poland, on the other hand, was annexed, and that became part of the Greater Germany. So here it is in Germany, they did not want the Jews, and they found in Poland 3.3 million Jews. What do you do with them? And that's how it evolved. So I told you about the unofficial date of the Holocaust. The official one was January 20, 1942. In a city that today belongs to Berlin, Wannsee, 15 high-ranking Nazi criminals got together to decide the final solution to the Jewish question. The word Holocaust did not exist yet. They came out with a list of all the European countries and how many Jews lived there, and they came out with a number of 11 million. I want to say something that very few people know. The Jews were never known as a race. The Nazis, okay, coined the Jews as a race. You cannot annihilate, okay, a religion, a nationality, but you can eradicate the race. And therefore, once they were going to accomplish murdering all of the Jews in Europe, initially, because they planned to do it worldwide, but they wanted to open up a museum in Prague, and they were going to call it the Museum of the Extinct Jewish Race. So I want you to understand why they called the Jews as a race. A lot of people try to make today comparisons to the past. In my opinion, it's totally, absolutely inappropriate. I also want to make the connection between the Holocaust in the state of Israel. During the Holocaust, people died because we did not have a country. Today, next week we'll remember in Yom HaZikaron, the Israeli Memorial Day, we will remember the people that died for us to have a country. As a matter of fact, anti-Semitism was so prevalent in France that in 2015, about 8,000 French people emigrated to Israel to find a safe haven. So we all have to understand Israel is the only Jewish state in the world, and the importance of it for the Jews from all over the world. I have found from my experiences that a lot of the young people today do not have a spiritual connection to Israel. They think of Israel as a country like any other country. The other thing which I also find it interesting is people believe that Israel came into existence because of anti-Semitism and Holocaust. They were factors, but it came into existence, okay, because of the British colony collapsed. Okay, we were given only 22% of the area promised to us, and Jordan and Syria did not exist at that particular time. But I want to concentrate on using the proper words. And even Jewish leaders use the wrong words, and in that way they perpetuate false narratives. Okay, let me give an example. People use too often the word Nazi. There are no Nazis anywhere in this world. There are people that believe in the Nazi ideology. So the proper word to be used is neo-Nazi. Personally, I have never done it, and I do not attack people. I do attack what they say. And a leader of this country, and that is also talking about not comparing to the past, is saying that there are concentration camps in the south, in this country. And that is a complete lie. Okay, there are no concentration camps here. If you want to make comparison, you can compare it to the DP camps, displaced people. Okay, these were the camps liberated by the Allies, the Americans, Brits, Australians, Russians. A lot of them had to live under difficult conditions for 3 to 5 years. They had no place to go. However, the threat of death did not exist. Okay, so please do not call whatever you want to call it in the South, the camps, do not call them, what do you call it, concentration camps. Another thing, for instance, somebody said, a leader of this country, that Holocaust is happening in the world. And that is a complete lie. There is a difference between genocide, was still happening, and Holocaust. Please do not lump them together. They are totally different things. Genocide is the murder of a group. However, the Holocaust is the annihilation of a group. The interesting part of it is that you have over there the official definition of the Holocaust. But when I'm looking at the 6 million number, I can't relate to it. So let's bring it to common denominators to understand what 6 million murdered Jews really means. If you would be on your feet and silent for 1 minute for every victim of the Holocaust, you would be on your feet and silent for 11.5 years. That brings that number to a different perspective. In 2013, I was completely shocked when I had the opportunity to read 2 articles, one in England, one over here in the United States. The Nazis and their how shall I say, their perpetrators, collaborators, had 42,500 different type of camps. Not all of them were barbed wire, but from all of these camps, only 6 were death camps. Auschwitz-Birkenau, Treblinka, Belzec, Sobibor, Chelmno, and Majdanek. The other thing what I also want to do, please don't put together anti-Semitism and hatred. You can hate people for various reasons, the way they dress, the way they talk, the countries they came from. At the same time, their tradition, their culture, the color of the skin. Anti-Semitism is 4,000 years old. Okay, it can never be eradicated. And the interesting part is there are three groups that are called Semites: Jews, Arabs, and Ethiopians. And when they use the word anti-Semitism, they refer only to the Jewish people. Now that I gave you the background, okay, of the evolution of the Holocaust, now I can talk a little bit about my parents and about myself. My father was an orphan of both his parents. My grandfather died before he was born, unable to take care of 8 children. My grandmother took the 2 youngest one and decided to commit suicide. A stranger saved the children, but my grandmother did commit suicide. So my father grew up in Vienna in an orphanage, and at age 13, he was on his own. He became streetwise. It helped him during the war. It helped him also after the war, when there was not enough food, okay, to provide for the whole population. My mother, on the other hand, was an uneducated woman. My grandfather had a store, did not allow her to go to school. She had to stay home, provide for the family. Additionally, she was also abused by her stepmother. However, we all have the genes of both of our parents. I took my confidence from my father. I took my sensitivity from my mother. This is a picture from 1934, okay, when they got married. 5 years later, 1939, December 21, yours truly was born. Now, a very brief geography lesson. My mother and I were born outside of Romania. Okay. My father, on the other hand, was born in Romania proper, Vatra Dornei. Everything that I'm going to show you right now, including this area, is Romania. Yes.
If you can stop sharing your screen and then reshare again, because we're having a hard time seeing your slides.
You have a difficult time seeing what?
Your PowerPoint.
You cannot see it?
No.
Why didn't you tell me before?
We saw it before, Sami, and then we lost it. So if you could just,
I did not know
reshare it.
I did not know that you lost it. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing it.
Oh, there you go. We see it now.
Can you see it now?
Yep.
Okay, then let me make it bigger. Okay, too big.
Thank you.
Okay, one more thing. Okay, all right. So here it is. Okay, so let's show the pictures of my parents. Okay, and myself, 3 months old. Okay. So as you can see, everything here is Romania. My mother and I were born outside of Romania. My father was born in Romania proper. These two areas in 1940 were annexed by Romania. That's why we were deported, not by the Germans, we were deported by the Romanian propers in an area called Transnistria, and the name of the camp was Mogilev Podolsk. In 1946, the Romanians allowed a small group of Jews to repatriate. My father, being an anti-communist, he decided to choose the lesser of two evils and decided to come back to Romania. For whatever reason, he settled in Transylvania in this area. Okay. For 63 years, I felt I don't belong to the Holocaust survivors because I have no memory of that period of time. And until the trial of Eichmann, which was in Israel, the Holocaust survivors did not talk. They felt guilty, ashamed, and victims. And they wanted the children to grow up a normal life, not to be burdened with those horror stories. I also felt I don't belong to the children of the Holocaust survivors because most of them were born in DP camps where the threat of death did not exist. And prior to 2003, the Holocaust Museum closed its doors to the general public for 2 days and opened it up only to the Holocaust survivors, their children, and their liberators. And I've never been there. Don't ask me why. In 2003, November 1st, November 2nd, I decided to go to DC. There were over 8,000 people from all over the world. And interestingly enough, at the table where I was sitting, I met a man born in the same city, been in the same camp, same years, 1941, 1944. He was taken when I was 8 months old. I was taken when I was a year and a half. And that is the difference between history and living history. By meeting him, talking to him, I have decided to stop ignoring being a Holocaust survivor and to do something about it. In 2007, I joined the Holocaust Museum here downtown Manhattan. And in 2008, I got my first assignment to speak to 6th graders. Obviously, you have spoken publicly. I'm assuming most of you. You can, looking back, will agree with me that your first presentation is not the best. It's not the most complete. I did not have a story. I did not know that I can tell story, and I had no idea what impact I will have on such young people. Again, meant to be. They sent me thank you letters, one better than the other. But one 6th grader changed my life forever. She wrote, P.S. Your story was overwhelming, and I promise I'll pass your story to my children. Because of her, I have decided to dedicate the rest of my life to reach as many young people as I can, nationally and internationally. I also want you to know that I'm not only a victim of the Holocaust, I'm also a victim of persecution, discrimination, anti-Semitism after the war. I'm not only a survivor of the Holocaust, I'm also a survivor of life challenges, and I will talk shortly about it. However, before I go any further, I want to talk about neo-Nazis and the Holocaust deniers. I'm coming from a generation that is very stoic and was not allowed to cry. And I was, all my life, every second of my life, I was in a pain, excruciating pain, and I will always be for the rest of my life in pain. When I was in the camp, because I was too young to work, I was subjected to medical experiments, and I'm suffering from head, neck, shoulder, and back. But he could not find the cure because it's not localized. It's constantly moving from place to place, and then intensity can be an 8 or 9 or 2 and 3. Most of them it's about 4 and 5. But you will not see it in my face. Even my friends don't know. And one day, when my parents came to visit me in Milwaukee, they found me on the floor, almost unable to move. I was almost 31 years old. It was 1971. My father never knew that I was in such excruciating pain. And in shock, inadvertently, he told me that I was subjected to medical experiments. Obviously, it did not help me with the pain, but it gave me the courage to ask for compensation from the German government. And as you know, you have to know what happened to you. Obviously, the doctors did not come to my parents and tell them, this is what we did to your son. They did not know. I don't know. When I applied on February 8, 2008, I was homeless, which means I had no documents. And at that time, everybody was gone, including my parents. I had no witnesses. So I did it just for me, not expecting an answer. To my surprise, 2 years later, in January 26, 2004, I got an answer. To my shock, I got paid. A single payment of 2,500 German marks. It came to over $5,000. Financially, it did not make a huge difference in my life, but there are two paragraphs that are important. Based on the information and evidence you provided, what evidence? Your eligibility has been established as a victim of medical experiments. Please remember that, that it was not based on what I wrote, it was based on their records. Okay. The other thing is, fully aware that no amount of money can compensate you for the severe injustices that you suffer. We do hope that you will regard this payment as a symbolic acknowledgement of this injustice, which means the German government admits that they did medical experiments not only in Germany, but in other countries, and that I was one of them. I don't know how to get rid of the top. Okay. Anyway, let's see. Okay. On May 6, 2015, a reporter was at Bayonne, New Jersey. I spoke there for 7 years in a row to 735 students. Very nice article. 2 days later, May 8, 2015, the neo-Nazis picked up that article word by word, but they changed the headline and posted it on the internet. Obviously, I was upset for a very brief time, but I've decided to take a negative and turn it into something positive. Let's see what they wrote. In this simple headline, it took me close to 3 months to realize they called me 3 times a liar. Jew, Holocaust. Holocaust, hoax. Hoax, it never happened. So if it never happened, how can I talk about it? Obviously, I'm a liar. Claims Nazi medical experiments, you can't remember. It's a true statement, but they don't say why I don't remember. Still causing pain. Also true, but don't they explain why it still causes pain, why they could not find a cure for my problem. The other thing, unlike the millions of other Jew Holocausters, millions of people are not liars. Millions of people were not experimented. It somehow was not experimented by Joseph Mengele. Okay, if you're ignorant and you don't know who Mengele was, okay, he was called the angel of death, separated who will live and who will die. As a doctor, he had only one interest, in twins. Okay, so and it was only in Auschwitz, it was not in Europe. So I turned that negative into something positive, teaching the young people, okay, to do the research. Not everything that you hear, that you read, that you see is the gospel truth. They are very good sources. The internet is a marvelous tool, okay, for information, but it's also, unfortunately, a very powerful tool to spread hatred and lies. Okay. Looking at this one, you probably will wonder, what does it have to do with the Holocaust? To be honest with you, absolutely nothing. About 3.5 years ago, because of my age, I started having difficulty walking long distances, going on an incline, and climbing stairs. In 2018, I was on a speaking tour in Mexico, and my friend took me to the highest pyramid. And my initial goal was not to reach the top. I didn't think I can do it. My initial goal was to reach, okay, the first level. But after I reached the first level and I rested a little bit, I said, why don't I try for the second one? And slowly pushing myself, little by little, I found myself on the top of the pyramid. If I wouldn't have this picture, I wouldn't believe that I climbed the whole pyramid. Okay, and I use this as an example to motivate young people. Whatever they achieve, never to be satisfied, always to push themselves further, because they will be surprised the strength, okay, that they have and what they can achieve, which was beyond their imagination. I'm going to talk about two major challenges that I had to overcome. I don't want you to feel sorry for me. All I want to do is to learn, because I will tell you how I overcame it, and then under no circumstances should you ever give up, should you ever lose hope. In 1996, at age 56, I became homeless. I'm not a street person. I wanted to commit suicide. In the last minute, I opened the window, but at the same time, I decided to see my father, who lived in Israel. And after I saw my father, I realized that all my life I was never a quitter. And I said, I'm coming back and I'm going to try to rebuild my life. I overcame that because basically what happened is that I had no support system. I could not be in touch with the people that I knew. I got involved with the wrong people. So I overcame it by volunteering. And when you volunteer, when you help other people, whether you know it or not, you are helping yourself. So there are two groups. I used to volunteer for 18 because each one gave me something that was missing in my life. But here at this Big Apple Greeter, I used to take visitors from other states and other countries and show them around the city. And I had two perks. Number one, I used to live in Brooklyn, so I did not know Manhattan at all. So I had to learn something about Manhattan if I wanted to show them around. And the other thing is I met people from all over the world, learned about different cultures. And today, if I would have the money, okay, I can travel almost anywhere in the world, and somebody will host me, will show me the city that they love. The other one is an organization that does not exist. My job was to distribute tickets, to pick up tickets, distribute to underprivileged people like myself. And I had two perks. Number one, okay, I could see the show. Okay, you know how expensive Broadway shows are here. I've seen more Broadway shows that you can think of: ballet, opera, sports events, concerts, even something that I would never watch on TV. But I used to love to volunteer to go to Madison Square Garden because it's a complete spectacle. This is WWW wrestling. The other perk that I had, I could bring somebody with me, and that's how I formed some new friendships. So you can see the value of volunteering, and you will obviously volunteer for something that you like. Okay, so hopefully all of you are, and if you are not, you will volunteer. The people that put me in the position to become homeless, obviously I have many reasons to be angry, to be bitter, to blame them for the circumstances that I found myself. And guess what? None of it. What happened is there are two things in this country that I am very unhappy. Number one, people have forgotten how to disagree in a civil way. Number two, if you pay good attention to the news, you will see that nobody takes responsibility. It's always circumstances or somebody else's fault. In my particular case, I decided to take responsibility for my actions. And I said, you know something? I made two mistakes. Number one, these were people I trusted with my life. I gave them cash. Number two, I did not put anything in writing. Prove it. So I said, you know something? They are not guilty. I okay, they took advantage of my stupidity. But by taking that responsibility, all of a sudden, I don't have the need to blame others or circumstances. I became a free man. But I had to do two things to really completely recover from it. And number one is to learn to forgive myself. And number two, to be kind to myself. So I made a mistake. So what? Move forward. I also wanted to know that all of us have a choice to react in any given situation in a positive manner. And all of us will go through traumas. Suffering is universal, but victimhood is optional. Nobody can make you a victim. The only person that can make you a victim is you yourself. Please do not act like a victim under any circumstances. And just to summarize briefly, my whole life was and is an unfinished journey made out of choices. Hopefully, you will make wise choices and you will have a happier life. And my motto in life is, I am not what happened to me. That's not what identifies me. I am what I choose to be. And within my means, although I live under the poverty line in the most expensive city in the country, Manhattan, I live on a monthly income of $1,316, and I'm still a happy person. The other thing is I have a son, I have 2 grandchildren, and I cannot be in touch with them. The way I overcame that to remain a positive person is I had to find a substitute to my need. A want, if it happens, fine. If it doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world. But a need must be satisfied. My need is to teach them to share, which I cannot do with my son or my grandchildren. So I had to find a healthy substitute. So therefore, when I speak and give my presentation to students for the period of time that we are together, my need to teach and to share is fulfilled through them. And when they know it or not, I actually tell them, for that hour or 2 hours that we are together, they become my substitute grandchildren. And that allows me to move forward, not to be on this, to be stuck on the past. I will stop here because I want to give the opportunity, okay, to ask questions on any subject that you want. And since you are going to have the PowerPoint and also the website, you will be able to learn a lot more. You can also feel comfortable to contact me anytime that you want and to be in touch. And I will answer all of your questions. So let's leave it right now and open it up for Q&A.
Does anyone have any questions for Sami? I know I have one. So what made you come to the United States in 1968 from Israel?
Excellent question. What happened is, from my father's side, from between 35 and 42 people, only 2 survived. Excuse me 1 second. Virginia, I'm on a Zoom. I'll call you back.
Okay,
Thanks.
Bye.
Okay, so what happened is, from 35, 42 people, only 2 survived. My father, obviously, and my uncle. By the way, there were only 3 countries that officially accepted Jewish refugees: China, Dominican Republic, and Philippines. If you want, I can tell you the number of Jews that they saved. My uncle was not a survivor. He was never in a camp. He was a refugee in Shanghai. When the communists came to power, he went to Israel, worked for the American embassy. In 1952, he settled in Santa Barbara. And I wanted to meet him. And in 68, I finally got a visa, okay, to come legally as an immigrant, okay. And I had a cousin in Milwaukee who was extremely wealthy, and he promised that he will help me, okay, provide me with a job, okay, the language, culture, the American culture. Promises made, promises not kept. So anyway, I had to struggle. I did not want to go back to Israel feeling a failure. And 5 years later, when I decided, you know something, okay, I think I can make it here, but I'm alone. Let me go back, okay, to Israel. And that's when I met my ex, married her, okay, had my son, got divorced. In 1983, I went back to Israel. In 1988, I came back. And today, New York is my last home. I stopped being the wandering Jew. But that was the reason that I came. It was not because of Israel. Okay, 1 second. Sorry for that. Rabbi, I'll call you back. Bye. Okay. Either they don't call or suddenly they call too often. Anyway, so that is the reason. It was not something because I did not like Israel, because I served in the Israeli Air Force. And I'm very proud. As a matter of fact, when I came to Israel the first time, set foot in it, and I saw a Jewish policeman. Wow, boy, was I proud. No kidding. A Jewish policeman. Okay.
I saw we had a hand raised from Scoop and then a hand raised from Michael. So Scoop and then Michael can go.
I did have my hand raised. You actually asked the question that I was planning to ask. But thank you. And thank you, sir, for speaking to us today.
Okay. Do you have a question?
We're going to go to Michael.
Okay.
Hi, so thank you so much for doing this. I've always wanted to meet someone like you, and I never have. And I just wanted to say, my one question to you was like, what jobs did you work when you came here? And once again, thank you so much for doing this. And I'm just so grateful to hear.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm assuming that you live here in New York, correct?
I live in New Jersey, but I go to New York every now and then.
Guess what? You can come to New York, all right? And I'll be more than happy, okay, to meet with you. Okay, anytime. Keep in touch with me, no problem. Okay, you can have my Facebook, my telephone numbers, whatever it is, Messenger. You can be in touch with me anytime that you want. So your question, if I understand correctly, is what job did I do here?
Yes.
Okay, I was an accountant, and when I go to campuses, I tell the young people, do me a favor. Don't choose a profession that pays a lot of money. Choose a profession that you are passionate about. And once you are passionate about the profession that you choose, believe me, you will never work a day in your life. And I'll give you a personal example. So as an accountant, I did not like it because I was more of a people person. Okay, and I became sick because it affected me that much, the stress and everything else. So I changed careers. I became a pharmaceutical representative. Okay. But the interesting part is today I'm going to give 5 presentations. Tomorrow I'm going to be from the morning, okay, until probably 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay, presentation and answering questions. On Thursday, I will give 7 presentations. And guess what? It's not work. I'm passionate about it. I love it when I can have an impact on the young people. And you know something, I don't feel that I'm working. And that is my suggestion to you, to everybody. Think very carefully. What are you really, really passionate about? And go for that. And Michael,
Yes.
I'm ready to meet you anytime you want. Anybody else for that matter. Okay. Listen, I live alone. What do you want? I've been in the what do you call it? House arrest for a full year. Okay, but thank you. It was a very good question, and it's something that I really want to do it. By the way, when you will go to my website on Sami's story, you will also see some life philosophies that have guided me throughout my life. And unlike other professional motivational speakers that speak from an academic viewpoint, every cliche, everything that I wrote there, I can give you a personal story, what it means to me. Personally, it's not academic, it's life stories. So you will be able to learn a lot about me, what makes me tick, and you have the PowerPoint. You can always refresh your memory, what you have learned today.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. By the way, anyone from your family did go through the Holocaust?
I have a great aunt who actually lost many of her aunts and uncles, and she was a gypsy in Poland. And
she was a gypsy.
Yes, like I think her ethnicity, like she doesn't talk much about it, but I've been able to understand certain things from her son.
Does the son know the story?
He knows parts of it, but because of how secretive she is.
I want you to do me a favor, and this is for everybody. Okay? Be proud of your heritage. Learn the story, and if they don't want to talk to you, okay, there's an easy way to convince them to talk. And tell them, you know something, it's not for me. But I want for the future generation, for my children and grandchildren to know about it. And if you don't tell me the story, you don't write about it, I won't be able to teach them, okay, and to keep our heritage and our traditions. So do me a favor, okay, learn the story and keep talking, because you mentioned gypsy, right? Trust me, a lot of gypsies were murdered, okay? It was another group, okay, targeted by the Nazis. And believe me, very few people know about gypsies, what they are. When I grew up in Romania, okay, I had a very good friend, a female friend. She was a gypsy. And I was with them. They lived, in tents in the forest, everything else. I used to go with them, spend the time and everything else. We are all people, regular people. We just have different traditions. There is only one race. That's the human race. Okay. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you so much once again.
My pleasure.
We have one question in the chat from Sarah. Sarah asks, do you ever encounter people who you see are resistant to hearing about the Holocaust and the story of Jewish people? If so, how do you respond to the opposition?
Okay. My famous saying is, what happens if you talk to a fool? Two fools will talk to each other. Nobody's going to convince anybody else. So if you meet somebody that has a closed mind, the only thing that they want is to say what they want to say. They are unwilling to listen to you. Don't talk to them. It's a waste of time. Talk to somebody that has an open mind, okay, that is willing to learn, okay, and at the same time, which is very, very, very important, do not go into confrontation. we are talking about right now about Israel-Palestinian conflict. And there are people that are saying the state of Israel is an apartheid state. And I myself did not know the definition of what apartheid is. And I went to Google it. It's a whole page, and I printed it out. But if somebody says to me, Israel is apartheid state, I says, you know something? I agree with you. I'm not getting into a confrontation. But obviously, since you're mentioning, you learned about it, you know about it. Can you explain to me what is apartheid? And whatever they say, I bring in, this is the definition of apartheid. You see what it says? White supremacy. How many people in Israel are white? Half of them, if not the majority, are coming from Middle East, from African countries. Okay, where is the apartheid? Explain to me. So what I am saying, ask them questions before you go. Find out where did they learn? Where did they find out? Who told them that? Where did they read about it? Once you understand where they are coming from and you are knowledgeable, and that's why I'm saying education is very important, all of you. Educate yourself. Then you can come without being confrontational and bring in some of the things that he would be willing to listen. But by showing respect to somebody else, they will show you respect. Let me give an example what it means a dialogue, okay? Not confrontation. I found out that there is a Christian Lebanese student that had a very large Muslim and Christian following. And he had extreme negative feelings about the state of Israel. Okay, and I was wondering if he would be willing to talk to me. To my surprise, he said yes. As we're sitting, okay, and talking, I asked him, why do you feel the way you do about the state of Israel? And when he tried to tell me the story, I made sure that even facially, I did not give him the opportunity to misinterpret that I'm confrontational. The way you treat somebody, that's the way they will treat you. And guess what? Approximately 45 minutes later, we shook hands. I said, you've taken two things and you're putting them together. If you are against the Israeli government policy, you have my blessing. But the state of Israel has done nothing to you. Can you separate the two issues? And because we had a dialogue, it was not confrontational. We respected each other's opinion. He said yes. Okay. And that's what I'm trying to do. When somebody wants to be confrontational, don't be confrontational. Ask him, okay, very simple. Where did you learn that? Who told you that? How do you know? Okay, can you teach me? I'm not as knowledgeable as you are. Help me understand. Okay? Yes.
I loved your response. Thank you. Does anyone else have any other questions?
Well, that's why I'm saying, you know, in life, we all use cliches. Whatever cliche I use, okay, it's part of life. I will always give you a personal example. Okay? So I don't just use the cliche. Yes.
Does anyone else have any other questions for Sami?
If not, I have a question.
Yeah, you can ask.
Okay, since the only person that I see is Michael, so I'm going to talk to you, okay? Through you with the other people. Is that okay with you? I hope I'm not putting you on the spot. It's okay? Good.
It's okay with me.
Okay. Now, can you imagine yourself living in a house where there is no sink? Really? That's where I lived with my parents, the whole family. Where did he pick up the water? To take a bath, to drink? Where did he pick it up? From a well. And the well was about half a mile away, going one way and the other. Do you know how many times we had to go with 2 pails, okay, to bring water so the 4 people can take a bath? Okay. Can you imagine yourself living in a house? There is no toilet. What do? We had outhouses. So, okay, occasionally, okay, it was open, but in most of the cases, they put a board, okay, in front of it, they put a door, okay, in the front and also on the side, okay, and guess what? They made holes. Even in schools, okay, we had that. Imagine yourself, we did not have a gym in the school. Everything was done in the courtyard. So I can tell you many, many stories how difficult life was after the war. There was a lot of hunger. There was not enough food to feed the population. People had to steal food. I used to go with my mother to the forest to pick up raspberries, strawberries, and gooseberries. We used to go to farms and steal watermelons. Even today, I'm going to eat a whole watermelon in one sitting. Okay, it's watermelon has water, sugar, gives you energy, and it's food. Okay, we used to steal fruits, but not when they were ripe, because the owner would come and beat us up. We used to steal them when they were still green, and green fruits have a sour taste. So even today, I will eat a Granny Smith apple that has a sour taste. Very seldom will I eat any other type of an apple. So I'm just giving an example. People that went through difficult times, okay, appreciate what this country has to offer. Okay, a lot of people that grew up here, okay, take a lot of things for granted. They do not appreciate the freedoms, the liberties that we have. And I want you to remember one thing. I served, like I told you, in the Israeli Air Force. I want to tell you one thing. Freedom is not free. A lot of people had the ultimate price for us to have the freedom that we have today.
That's beautiful.
With all its faults, and there's no country that is perfect, with all its faults. Believe me, because I lived in a communist country, I know about socialism, I know about communism. This is the best country in the world. I hope people will learn. Any other questions? There is a lot more that I can talk about it, but I cannot answer your question if you don't ask. Remember one thing, learning starts with a question. Okay, don't be afraid to ask anything that you want on any subject. I am a very private person. People don't know about me, about my life story. They don't. I don't talk about it. The only time that I'm open is only when I give presentation, because my goal is to teach you, okay, to be the best that you can be, and to share with you my life experiences. So I'm very open on any subject. Go ahead, Samantha.
If anyone doesn't have any questions, I wanted to ask, how was your experience in the Israeli Air Force? I remember when I was in Hebrew school, they used to do a program with young students or teenagers where before they went to serve in the army, they'd come to like New Jersey and help with the Jewish programs for little kids. So I want to know how your experience was in the Israeli Air Force.
I came to Israel when I was almost 21 years old. So, okay, I was not yet, because I was a newcomer. Okay, I was not yet ready to be called to serve. However, I decided to volunteer. And most of the kids were 17, 18 years old. I was 22. Do you know what they called me? Saba. Why don't you explain to everybody what Saba means?
I do not know what Saba means.
Grandpa. They were young kids, so at age 22, they called me Grandpa. So, but it was a wonderful experience, and I worked on the most sophisticated plane that Israel had at that particular time. It was used on the Six-Day War. It was called Mirage 3C. It was from France, the first plane that had the Delta wing. And it was a great experience. I was at the most advanced air base at that particular time. Okay, so a lot of dignitaries used to come there, and the pilots used to do all kinds of demonstrations that even the developers of the plane did not know that the plane is capable of doing this. It was a fascinating thing. Interestingly enough, it took us a while to get used to the noise, takeoffs and landings constantly. However, one evening, the whole base woke up. Everybody. Do you know why? There was complete silence. We got so used to the noise, okay, that the silence woke us up. Any other questions?
I
Okay.
have another question if no one does.
Okay, then let me tell you something else. Okay. I was in a shelter, and I know something about homelessness, which most of the people do not know. I've been in the inside. But interestingly enough, I was a broken man. And it came a stage that I did not care if I live or die. I actually did not want to live. I was, for the first time in my life, I was a broken man. I was a very heavy smoker, close to 3 packs a day. And I decided to test my willpower to see if I still want to live. And I said, when I will quit smoking cold turkey, suddenly, 3 packs a day, I said, I will recover. I did not say I will try. I will try is not a commitment. I said, I will. December 13th, if you're superstitious, Friday the 13th, 1996, I had my last cigarette. So I want you to understand words are very important. I wanted to associate only with positive people. Negative people will drag you down. You don't need their problems. You have enough your own, okay? Associate yourself with positive people. And at the same time, think of your brains as a computer. What you put in, that's what you get out. If you think, everything starts the way you think. So think positively. By thinking positively, you will use positive words. In my presentation today, I will challenge you if you can remember how many times or if I used negative words. Okay, it's ingrained in me. By using positive words, that will lead you to a positive attitude. Positive attitude will lead you to positive experiences, into a happier life. think positively. I have many stories, but I'm not going to tell you unless you ask, because I don't know what's of interest to you. By the way, Miriam, you may ask me also a question. You are part of the group. Now I'm going to put you on the spot. You know, when I go to
Sammy,
schools,
I actually, hi everyone. I work for the Israeli Consulate, and I just want to take this opportunity that you're putting me on the spot to thank you for being here today and sharing your stories, plural, and just giving us a glimpse to your life. And we really, really appreciate taking this time this week. I know it's always challenging because when we, as the government of Israel, are working on around Yomashua events, it's always a tense and challenging time. So thank you for doing it today. I want to thank the students as well as the faculty members. And this is phenomenal that we still have the chance to hear from people that were alive during that time. I think we should cherish these moments, and obviously, I would like to encourage everyone to use Sammy's website and use him as a resource, because he has a lot to offer to everyone. And we as the consulate, we are in close touch with him always for years now. So thank you, Sammy.
my honor, my pleasure. I'm very honored to be associated with the Israeli Consulate. By the way, when I go to schools, a lot of young people have a difficult time volunteering to ask questions. So I said, listen, I hope you will volunteer, but one way or the other, you will ask questions, because if you are not going to volunteer, I will volunteer you. I'll point at you. Okay, and that's what I did right now with Miriam. But she gave a very good answer. I love it. Thank you, Miriam.
If no one else has any other questions,
You know, always, do me a favor, always have a sense of humor. Don't take life too seriously. Okay? You always have good days, you have bad days, you have wonderful moments. You know, it's a cycle. You go through it. And every time that you overcome an obstacle, every time you become a better person, a stronger person, and a kinder person. And believe it or not, one of the best things that happened in my life is when I became homeless. Without that, I probably would have never volunteered. I probably would have never had the accomplishments that I achieved. I would not be what I am today. Maybe in a better person, maybe in a worse place. So therefore, I'm saying, welcome. Okay, let me give an example. When people talk about optimism, I was always an optimist. Most people think about the glass half full, half empty. My definition is different. In every problem, there is an opportunity. And I gave you an example when I was in the shelter with smoking. Okay, here it is. I had a problem. I was smoking. I did not want to live. But it was an opportunity for me to become a healthier person and to rediscover. And you know what else happened? Because I became homeless, I found something that most of the people are searching for their entire life. I found my mission in life. I never knew that I know how to talk, that I can tell a story, that I have a story. I never knew that. And okay, and this is for you, Michael, for other people. I just want you to remember one thing. You will fail many times. Believe me. But as long as you fail, you are not a failure. You will be a failure only if you don't try. And I Googled, about people that failed, that were rejected, authors that were rejected. And I found out a children's author okay, was rejected. Listen to this. 473 times. But she never gave up. Today she's worth over $10 million. So that's why I'm saying, in my opinion, you're a failure only if you don't try. Don't allow anybody to tell you you cannot do it. That means that they cannot do it. That does not mean that you cannot do it. Okay?
Thank you, Sami. Your words are so inspiring, and we can just feel the passion over the virtual room. If anyone doesn't have any other questions, I think this is a great space to thank the consulate for their partnership and co-sponsorship today in today's event. I hope everyone learned something during this important week. And I just wanted to thank you, everyone, for coming, and thank you especially, Sami, for sharing your stories with us.
Okay. And hopefully the next time you'll invite me to come to the school, or maybe I can speak right now online with all the students, and eventually to come and visit you in person. I would love that.
We would love that at Seton Hall.
And Michael, Samantha, you want to meet with me? Okay, come to New York and I will meet you wherever you want.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your afternoons. Thank you, Sami.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.